This is Arts Alive. I'm Lynda Phillippi. My guests today are Mark Peterson and Steve Long. They're here to discuss an upcoming event at Linfield in October, and I'm very excited to hear all about the project. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Great to
Thanks
be
for being here.
Yeah.
Mark, do you want to go ahead maybe and start off and tell us a little bit about it?
Well, you know, do you remember in Sesame Street where they used to sing the song, "One of these things just doesn't belong here"? I kind of feel like that thing.
Okay.
It's gonna be a panel of 6 authors, and I am just in the process of trying to get my book up and going.
Okay.
So, and a lot of the discussion is going to be about how do you find an audience, and the world of publishing has changed so dramatically.
true.
And there's so many more options open to people that were never available before. So it's really an exciting time, I think. People say books are dead, but I just don't buy that.
Oh, no, books aren't dead.
They're going to explode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But Steve's kind of more the nuts and bolts guy.
Okay,
about
so
the
so
event.
tell me about how this all sort of started and how it's coming together.
Well, I did a book. There's a Somebody, it's a novel. And in trying to market this, trying to find an audience for it, I threw the doors open and thought I would explore every option. And my plan was locally to go to 3rd Street Books, the library, to Linfield and so on. And I think it was Jenny Berg at the public library who said, the community is small enough that really you're sort of soliciting ultimately the same people over and over through these different venues.
You think?
Yeah, and also I'm not the only author. People have approached them and so on, and so her idea was to do something jointly with the public library, with Linfield, and with 3rd Street Books, and have one event, and then create a bigger draw yet with more authors. And sort of, from their standpoint, it would be getting more birds with one stone.
Okay,
From
I
our
see.
standpoint, it's a sort of, I've heard the restaurant row concept. So, you know, if you've got Chinese and Mexican and barbecue all together, everybody does better. It's not like you
Right,
take
it's a
audience.
draw, yeah.
It's a bigger draw. So I was real excited about what Mark was doing. I read an early draft, and there are other authors in the area, and I contacted some of them and pulled this together, and that's the event.
Okay, so it's finding an audience, and it's kind of a panel discussion.
It is, yes.
Okay, and each of you will be talking about your individual works, and then sort of collectively some of the tips you've learned and different kinds of things, and sort of spreading the word about what each of you have been doing.
Yeah. Well, and there's so many different directions you can go. And 2 of the guys on the panel have been published traditionally, and it was a while back. I don't think Chev's book came out quite a while ago, didn't it? Richard Cheverton, and he wrote a book called The Maverick Way, which is it was a business book about how thinking outside the box doesn't come from corporate headquarters, it comes from innovation that takes place in the companies. And then Frank, what was Frank's, do you remember?
Lisiandro. And he's written several books, actually.
But he's a fascinating guy. He was actually present when the Doors were founding in California, the group, the Doors.
Yeah.
So and he's a photographer, so he has pictures of that actually taking place.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So Frank, one of the most fascinating stories I heard from Frank is he gets the book out, and he looked on the sales sheets, and he'd sold 30,000 books in a 6-month period. And his check was 0.
Oh.
And there's
Because of the way the contract was written.
Well, the publishing is really weird, and I did not. When I was talking to Chev, Richard Cheverton, and he said, really, when you sell a book, what did you call it? You ship and duck.
Ship and duck.
Because you're really just putting that book on display, and the bookstore can ship it back at any point.
Right.
And get their money back.
And get their money back. So you're just they're kind of borrowing it to see if anyone will buy it. So the publishing companies hold on to vast amounts of money because they're not sure if or when they'll ever have to ship
Actually
that back
pay
and
it.
give it back. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the legitimate part of it.
Yeah.
I think the illegitimate part is that some people just are not honest. And you're not going to get your money unless you fight for it.
I think that's absolutely true, which is the same as the music industry.
Oh, gosh.
You know,
Sure.
I mean, I was listening to something the other day on NPR, of course, and they were talking about songwriters and artists and things trying to get paid, trying to get their royalties, and all the different ways that they can not get paid, essentially. So I'm sure it's the same thing with a writer.
Well, Mark Sanderlin is a local artist who's done well in New York City, and with a group called the Dirty Gems. And he sent out an email, a post on Facebook, and it was, if you wanted to make minimum wage as an artist, you'd have to sell 15 CDs a day. And then he goes to, and then if you'd have to have it shown 300 times on the radio to get that, and then he goes to the internet, and it's like 55,000 times it would have to be heard on the internet for you to get your money. It's just getting harder and harder to make a living that way. So.
It's true.
Right.
And if you're not big, it's kind of like everything else. The few people who really make it very, very big, and so many more people are just marginalized to the point where it's not really worth it. So this is obviously what you're doing here is a way to try to reel people back in and say, you can buy it here for cash.
Yeah,
I think that's,
it's kind of a farmer's market approach to me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, buy from me,
and you
I'd get a lot
cannot
more.
return it after you've read it. Well, this is another thing too. I know a lot of people who like to read, and so somebody will say to me, "Oh, I have a great book," and after she reads it and she reads it and she reads it and she reads it, I'll let you read it. It's like, I'll go down and buy one because I want to support the writer. If everybody loves this book, then why are we passing around the same copy to 10 people? 10 people should go buy the book. Yeah. That's how you validate and support an artist, right?
Plus, books are friends. You don't want to have to part with them.
No, you
want
don't.
to hold on to them and keep
Just
them.
ask my husband. I don't like to part with my books. I need a bigger house.
yeah.
It was. We all sat down and had a discussion. It was fascinating. Ellie Gunn has published a book, and it's called One Handful of Earth, and it's about a woman in Scotland trying to make her way and with feudal lords and things like that.
Yeah, I think she came and talked about it.
Well, she
I'm sure.
sold 700 copies of that book.
Great.
That's phenomenal. I mean, the average book published in a normal way sells like what? 900 copies?
If it's traditionally published, if you take the average of all books, it's 900 copies.
That includes like Stephen King.
Yeah.
Which
skews the average a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. But for her to do that, and she just did that with her contacts, and
Grassroots,
going out, hitting the street, out of the back of her car.
Yeah.
That's really hopeful.
Well, and the thing that's true is, in one sense, you think, okay, well, it's not like somebody, taking their hand-scrawled manuscript to the, old, mean man behind the desk, and if he likes you, it's good. And I mean, so we've opened it up a lot. On the other hand, there are so many more people writing. I mean, everybody has a blog. I don't know about you guys, but really, literally, you cannot get through your email, much less, the publications that come every month, much less all the books you want to read. It's not possible, and so how do people make that decision of, this is what this is the one that's worth spending money for, and this is the one that's worth spending time on, when both are such precious commodities these days. I mean, that's another piece too. You know?
Well, and I think that's a part of like finding your audience is finding those people that would find that valuable. I mean, people that would really be interested in this particular book.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's difficult to do.
what you've written about, your subject or whatever. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's really kind of cool that there's 6 of you, and presumably not everybody is in the same stage. I mean, some people are much published, and some people don't have something current that they're really pushing. But then there's people more like you who have something out, and you who will have by the time this.
Well, and your friend, what's her name?
Lisa Olin Harris.
Okay.
Will be there. She'll be the one. And I have to tell you, she wrote a book called Through the Veil.
Okay.
Which is, I think it's been out a year and a half now. Wonderful, terrifically written, and she's going to have a new one, and that's what she wants to talk about.
Wow.
Yeah.
But talk about the story of talking to her when she was developing. You were in a workshop with her.
Oh no, this was Peggy Hesketh.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
We.
I'm sorry, I have my stories mixed up.
That's okay.
I'm here to keep you straight. I was in a writing class with Elizabeth George. I've told you about that. And a woman named Peggy Hesketh was in our class, and she would bring her work week after week. We would read it. Universally, it was loved, and the universal comment was, "You'll never sell this because it's too literary." And here, actually, it's been a year now. She sold it for six figures.
Great.
So I'm so glad to be wrong.
Yes, absolutely.
But that wasn't easy. I mean, there's just really whether you're self-publishing, whether you publish traditionally, and there are people now that have been published as the result of a blog. So they'll serialize. There's a couple of science fiction books that are out, and people would serialize these, so you're giving it away.
Julie and Julia.
Yeah, and there's another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it became a movie.
Yeah.
And it's confusing as can be, but that's part of the excitement. You almost don't know what venue to pick. You know, is it going to be electronic? Is it going to be a physical book? If it's a physical book, are you going to do it as somebody else? My book was, I call hybrid publishing. Other than I paid for the printing, it's being nationally distributed by the second largest distributor in the country. So where are we? I don't know. It's harder to pigeonhole these things.
So is it a situation where, like for either one of you, the work that you're doing, can people, download it onto their Kindle or something as well as buy it in a hard copy? Is that the way it's going to work for you?
This is yes. I
Okay.
don't know.
I think we'll get there eventually. I want to start with a regular physical product.
Now, we're going to talk about more specifically about what each of you gentlemen have done in the second half, but I guess I would think that this is true, maybe you do or don't, that certain types of work, certain genres maybe lend themselves more easily to, breaking it out and serializing it a bit, or do you think that's true?
Well, sure. And I think, when I was looking at publishers and trying to do that, what I found frustrating is that I'm writing a book about wine and theology, and all of the religious publishers were like, no, it's about wine. What do you, I'm not going to do that. And all the wine people are like, that's about religion. So it's hard to find like that exact place that would say, this is a fit for us.
So you mean these people are so small-minded that they don't understand the deep and true spirituality to be found in a glass of wine?
Oh, I mean,
really, we know that, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We're in McMinnville.
We do, yeah. Other people aren't quite so sure.
Wine
but,
is a religion in this county.
In this county, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so, wow. Well, so let's just go back over the dates and times again of your event.
Sure. It's October 10th. It's a Thursday, 7 to 9 in the evening at Nicholson Library at Linfield.
Okay, in McMinnville. Sure.
And it's being sponsored by 3rd Street Books.
Yep.
And the library, the Linfield Library, and the
Linfield.
Public Library
That's correct.
together. So.
Yeah.
And so there's probably a link to it on everybody's page.
Well, certainly there will be if it
Right,
isn't.
and it may even have its own little page or event page on Facebook or something. So
Oh,
Yeah.
Steve Long, Mark Peterson,
Yeah.
Public Library,
Yeah.
Linfield, lots of ways to find you.
Sure.
And will it be free to the public?
Yes.
It is. yeah.
Okay, and will wine be served?
Let's hope.
I'm hoping so.
I'm hoping so too. Okay, good. Well, that'll be something to look forward to then.
Sure.
And then
The wine, that is.
No! The fascinating insights that you're going to provide to all the people out there.
Yeah.
We have to close in just a moment, but I'll tell you real quick. When you're talking, I'm thinking I have a friend in Phoenix, and she and a man she met on Match.com are writing a Jack and Jill perspective of over 60 dating. From his perspective and her perspective and how that all works.
Wow.
So I'm wondering which avenue they're going to choose and how they're going to try to publish. So when we come back,
Okay.
we'll talk to you both some more.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.